One moment.
Well, we have a nice turnout tonight. We have 10 people so far. This is wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you, Chanel. And as Bonnie said, we are thrilled that everyone who is here. And we're excited to share some information about this funding opportunity. This is for the Birth Equity Project, just making sure everyone is in the right place. This call will be recorded and posted to the Birth Equity webpage. There you can find this recording as well as the recording from the same session that we held a couple weeks ago, as well as lots of other information on our webpage. Chanel, can you go to the next slide? So today I'll be reviewing the funding announcement goals and timeline, grant writing support available throughout the application period, funding application sections, application scoring process, requirements for DOH contractors, and more information on where to find help. We should have time at the end to answer questions that folks have, and feel free to use the Q&A function. It should be at the menu tool at the bottom of your screen there. So ask a question there and we'll either answer those on the call today, or any additional questions that we need to do just to make sure we have the right answers and answer them correctly. We will be answering those on the FAQ document that is also posted on our website. We'll be doing a budget TA support call at the end of the session this evening. So once the information for this has wrapped up, we'll transition into some more in-depth information about the budget worksheet. So the Birth Equity Project funding seeks to address and help reduce the racism faced by birth workers and families from Black, African American, African immigrant, American Indian, Alaska Native, and Pacific Islander communities. We seek to invest in community-based birth worker organizations that could reflect the community that they serve. The Birth Equity request for applications will include awards that range from $75,000 to $200,000 per year. We expect there will be between 3 and 6 awards, and that the awards will provide 2.5 years of funding. Our timeline is up on the screen. We released this announcement on November 10th. We've held a couple of support calls, this being one of them, and grant writing and assistance is available now through Sunday, December 18th, and we'll share more about that later in the call. The application is due on Monday, December 19th at 8 a.m. And estimated notification of awards is January 16th, 2023, with an estimated contract start date of March 1st, 2023. And the period of performance will be March 1st of 2023 through September 30th of 2025. So to develop this funding opportunity, DOH worked with the Birth Equity Advisory Committee to define the project goals. The committee is made up of doulas, midwives, childbirth educators, parents, caretakers, and other community birth workers from the priority communities. They define the project goals as birthing people are healthy and can have a birth the way they want it. Birthing people are treated as experts in their own care, and their concerns are taken seriously. Birthing people have access to resources without fear of discrimination, violence, or deportation. Birthing people have access to care that incorporates both Western medicine and traditional practices. And birthing people have access to doulas and midwives. Eligibility is as follows. Organizations that are currently led or founded by Black, African American, African immigrant, American Indian, Alaska Native, or Pacific Islander birth workers that reflect the community the organization serves, are committed to disrupting racism in the perinatal healthcare system and reducing the discrimination that birthing people from these priority communities experience. committed to recognizing the full rights and control of a birthing individual over their body, that recognize that birthing people are experts in their own care and can have birth the way they want it, committed to incorporating traditional or culturally specific practices into the care that they provide, who have 50% or more of the staff reflective of the community the organization serves, and 50% or more of the board or leadership. Organizations are led and staffed by trusted members of the community, and limited liability corporations and community organizations are eligible to apply. DOH seeks to fund organizations that are owned or operated by and serve the following communities: American Indian Alaska Native, regardless of tribal affiliation; African immigrants; Black or African Americans that are descendants of enslaved Africans living in the United States; and Pacific Islanders. Funding priorities. We will prioritize applications that include the following elements: services that support pregnant and birthing people from the priority communities during prenatal, labor and delivery, and the perinatal period, which is 0 to 2 years. Services that disrupt and help minimize the racist impacts pregnant and birthing people have during the prenatal, labor and delivery, and perinatal period. Services that build the capacity and sustainability of birth workers in these communities. This can include efforts to hire, train, or mentor or support birth workers. Services or programs that expand access to and provide support navigating the perinatal resources available to these communities. And this could include community liaisons or community outreach events. Services that reduce barriers to transportation, childcare, housing, or employment. So we will be offering support throughout the application period. So that started Monday, November 14th and goes through Sunday, December 18th. We've contracted with the Nonprofit Accelerator to help provide coaching and training to any organizations interested in applying. And Bonnie and Laura and a couple of their colleagues are on the call today, and they will introduce themselves and provide a little bit more information about what they can help out with later on this call. But for a summary here, there's 3 ways that you can get help. So you can self-schedule a 30-minute online support session with trainers. The sessions will offer support on any parts of the application. We also have office hours for drop-in support. And then we have some budget-specific calls. So the budget support call will happen right after this call. And we do encourage that any applicants sign up for one-on-one support or utilize the coaching sessions. For the one-on-one support, you are welcome to schedule 1 session or schedule more than 1 session on any part of the application. So now I'm going to move into the sections of the funding announcement. So the application includes the following elements: an application information sheet, letter of interest, project work plan, project budget, letters of support, and a roster of organizations' current staff and board of directors. We ask that applicants use 12-point font in all materials, double space their applications, and follow the page limits listed in the checklist. So the application information sheet, this is on page 7 of the RFA document, if you're following along, includes just general information about the organization. So the name of the organization, address, contact information, as well as some required tax information. So the tax ID, UBI number, statewide vendor number, and unique identifier will all be needed for contracted applicants. If you do not have all of these numbers, you'll just need to attest on your application that you plan to apply for or have already applied for these numbers. If you need any additional support to apply for these numbers or figure out the application process, feel free to reach out to Laura and Bonnie. You can use that as a content for your drop-in sessions or one-on-one sessions to kind of walk through how to apply for those numbers. So on to the other section. So the letter of interest, this should be no more than 3 pages. Please provide an overview of your organization, the project purpose, plan, and approach, and show how your project aligns with the defined birth equity goals and how you align with the project funding priorities. The work plan should also be no more than 3 pages. Please provide at least 2 goals for the program and 1 to 2 objectives for each goal. The objectives should show tangible services for clients, include goals to address racist impacts and harm experienced by pregnant people and birth workers in the project's priority communities. Explain how your approach to help improve birth outcomes for pregnant people and their babies, and explain how your approach will support birth workers. Your budget should have, so there'll be more information about the budget later on this call. The template is posted on our website. And I'm just gonna move forwards because there'll be more information at the end of this call about how to fill that out. But a note here that the year 1 will be between 6 and 9 months, whereas year 2 and 3 will be 12 months. So the template should help you fill that out accordingly. Letters of support. We request 3 to 5 letters of support per application, and a minimum of 3 letters is required for review and consideration for funding. These letters can be from organizations that you work with, but they could also be from community members, clients, or folks that are utilizing your services. Staff and current board, there's a template in the application. So please fill out the table included with relevant information about your organization's board of directors, staff, or volunteers. The scoring criteria is also outlined in the application on page 5. And we do have the scoring rubric posted on our website underneath the RFA and budget templates. As you can see, the eligibility is worth 20 points, community support 15 points, letter of interest 50 points, and the work plan is worth 30 points, and the budget is worth 15 points. The application process is as follows. Completed application materials are due Monday, December 19th at 8 a.m. Please email all materials to caroline.sedano@doh.wa.gov in a PDF format and the budget template as an Excel file. The Birth Equity Advisory Committee will score applications and determine funding decisions. High scoring applicants will be asked to schedule a discussion with the advisory committee. This meeting will allow the committee to ask follow-up questions and clarifications about application materials. Funding decisions will be announced in mid-January of 2023. Requirements for DOH contractors include fiscal requirements. So successful applicants will be sub-recipient contracts, and they'll be reimbursed for any spent costs, and there'll be invoices will require backup documentation. Reporting requirements include quarterly reports and quarterly meetings with the DOH contractor and other staff, attending 2 summits each year with other successful applicants. These are opportunities for the successful applicants to come together, share what they're working on, build their networks, and gain insight from each other. Another requirement is at least 1 presentation on the program that you're implementing to a community group. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Laura to talk a little bit more about how you can get help on any part of the application that I just walked through.
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Portaliz and I'm with Nonprofit Accelerator, and the DOH has brought us in Nonprofit Accelerator team of consultants to help out with any questions that you may have about the application, the budget, anything that we're able to help with, we'll definitely jump in and help. There are a couple of different ways to get help, and we will be by tomorrow posting this on the website for the grant. And we will be doing coaching hours, and the coaching hours will be really a drop in and a drop out. So you don't need to come and stay the whole time. Any of the times that are available, we will be online and you can jump in and ask a few questions or ask a lot of questions and get support that way. So that's, I think, the important thing to remember. A lot of times people see a, hour or 2 hour block, but again, we'll be online so you can come in anytime from the beginning to the end of those sessions. So we'll be posting those available hours and also the link that we will be located at on the website by tomorrow. And the other option to help get support, and a few of you have already taken advantage of this, is to email me directly. And if you email me and would like to have a specific one-on-one session, you could just let me know some times and dates you're available, and we'll schedule time to have that one-on-one help. Also, if you have general questions, you can email me as well. And I'm glad to help answer any of those questions that you may have. So really, we have the 2 ways there, the coaching hours and the link, which will be posted on the website by tomorrow. Those are drop in, drop out, or you can email me directly with questions or to schedule an individual time to meet. And from there, I'd like to introduce the Nonprofit Accelerator team. And we do have Bonnie on. Bonnie, would you like to talk a little bit about NPA and introduce yourself, please? Perhaps she's having technical issues, so I will introduce. Oh, there you are. Hi.
Hi, sorry about that. So Nonprofit Accelerator was formed 3 years ago, right at the beginning of the pandemic. We have about 13 people right now that are associates in about 8 different states, all with a variety of skill sets and passions. We help with websites, grant research, grant writing, Giving Tuesday, we helped with a lot today, all around the country. And we pretty much meet people where they are. So we had this great opportunity to help with the Department of Health with this project and really enjoying it. We've developed the budget template, worked on the rubric, met with the team at DOH, and have really enjoyed the process and look forward to meeting you where you are and trying to help you get a good quality submission in.
All right, I will introduce Melvin Givens, who is also one of our associates, and Melvin has extensive experience leveraging technology for nonprofits and also significant experience in grant writing. So he may be one of the people that you meet if you email me to schedule a one-on-one session or during the coaching sessions. Brenda, you're on. Can you introduce yourself, please?
I will do my best. I don't have much of a voice. I am here in Washington as well, and I work mainly as an editor. So before things are sent in for applications or letters or whatever sent in to be determined for grants, I get to do final edits on most everything. And that way we try to keep things, especially when so many people contribute to projects, to make sure it has a singular voice that is what's often looked for, and just checking the obvious small things as well. But that's about all the voice I have right now. Sorry.
Thank you. I will add that Brenda is one of the best editors I've ever seen. So voice or no voice, she's very, very good. That's me. I'm Laura Portales, and as you know, I'm a consultant with NPA. And my specialty is in grant research, also in grant writing and curriculum development as well. This is another one of our team members. This is Charlotte Kearney, and Charlotte is a fabulous grant writer, has been through her work. Many organizations have received grants, and she will be part of the team helping out as well. I think the last thing I would have to say is that I would definitely encourage everybody to schedule time with us. We're eager to help and make this process as easy and successful as possible for you. So I will drop my email address also in the chat. If you feel free to email me, hang on to that if you have questions, or if you know that you'd like to go ahead and schedule one-on-one time, we can get that done. So thank you. I'll turn it back over to Caroline.
Thank you so much, Laura and team, for introducing yourselves and sharing more about the support you all can offer. And just to echo what Laura said, we really hope that folks are able to take advantage of this and either apply it to this application or apply it to other grant applications you're working on in the future. So that's it for the information we have to share today. I don't see any questions yet. For folks that are on the call that do have questions, there's a Q&A option, and you can just type your questions in there. I'm gonna just go on mute and wait for a couple minutes to see if any questions do come in. And then I'll check back in with everyone, and then I will turn it over to Bonnie, who will be going into some information about the budget template specifically. The one question from Mandy, who asks, we can request between 75,000 and 200,000 a year, and that the number of grants given are 3 to 6. Are we more competitive if we ask for a smaller end of the spectrum? No, the answer is there's no weight given to the dollar amount. I think what we are looking for is a budget and project that align and are aligned with the goals of the project. So if you only need a smaller amount of money, $100,000 or $75,000 to meet your goals, and that is more feasible for a smaller organization or for the organization that you work for, that is not a strike against you in the application process. We welcome any dollar amount within that range for folks to apply with. But thank you for the question. Okay, well, I see that the one question we have is around the budget. So that actually ties in nicely with our next set of content. So Bonnie, I'm going to turn it over to you. And I think, Chanel, you can stop sharing your screen. And Bonnie, are you able to, is that working for you to share your screen?
Absolutely.
Lovely. All right, go for it.
All right, just to verify, can you see my screen?
Yes,
Yes.
I can.
Thank you. All right, so we have created a Excel spreadsheet, Microsoft template. And what we're going to need to require is please do not convert this into a Google Sheet. It will not work. So you need to stay in Microsoft, and hopefully you can find a computer that has the Excel on it. So that's what you'll need to be able to complete this. We think it's pretty common, so hoping it all works for you. There's 3 tabs along the bottom: instructions, an example, and a template. I'm going to walk through a little bit of the tips on instructions, and then we're going to jump into the example and the template. Couple things. One thing changed, and that is we have abandoned using Sign Up Genius the first half of this project. We had the appointments scheduled through there, and we only had 2 people use it, and they were both no-shows. So we are trying a different route this next round. What we want to bring to your attention, and you'll see this, is that there are a lot of columns that say do not use, a lot of rows. And the reason for that is we've pre-populated and coded basically for you and done a lot of math. So throughout the exercise, you will be completing content for us on a monthly basis. So if you have a bill that's an annual bill, you're going to be splitting that up into 12 months and then putting that estimate in for the month. Couple other little pieces throughout this whole process. The blue is where you will be filling in. When you see the red letters, that's sort of us saying, hey, heads up and pay attention. And I'm going to move to the example area. And this is a mirror image of the real template. Anywhere that there is blue, the blue areas are what you complete. And if you get confused at all, come into the example template, because it's really nice. Tells you exactly what you need to do, like put the provider organization name, and if you have a program name, list it there. And then there's these really interesting little anchors, and if you hover over them, our colleague put in little tips for you so that it helps you navigate and understand what you need to do. So again, the yellow in this area is locked. So you can't enter anything in on the yellow. You get to enter into the blue areas only. And so we're going to walk through the blue in a second. But what I want to show you is when you scroll all the way down to the bottom, what will happen is that it will do a sum total of everything you've entered from above. And so that's how you check if you've exceeded the 200,000 per year. If you have, you'll need to go back and readjust. So just wanting you to be aware, that's how you look at it. And we're going to walk through the template now. So the first section is salaries. And here in the left side, the very first column, you're going to enter how you have your positions titled. And then you're going to tell us over here, is it a full-time employee? That would be a 1. Is it 4 full-time employees? Is it a quarter of an employee? Is it half of an employee? So you're going to list that in this next column. And then you're going to tell us what that monthly salary is for that employee. And the rest calculates. So be aware of that. And then the same thing happens with payroll taxes and benefits. Every company does things differently. No two really do it alike. So we know that, for example, Social Security is fixed, it's a yellow. Remember that you won't change anything in yellow. And we know you'll end up with unemployment tax. The difference is that the tax for unemployment, and the reason this is blue here, is because it really depends on the tax rate for your company. If you have a small company, you'll probably be at the 0.70%. But if you have a larger company, even though you have a project that's smaller, it may put you into a higher rate. And so you'll need to check with your accountant or your finance person or a CPA. We wouldn't know that. The medical, you would enter dental, vision, life insurance, or other items that we've left open here. And the big thing here is just equity, making sure that if you're already paying the rest of your staff, when you're bringing on the new staff to do this project, it should be equitable. They should be receiving what the rest of your staff are receiving. So that's why we have it laid out this way. So it really accommodates your culture. The direct expenses, these are expenses that are needed to be directly for support of the program. And this can get confusing. So we gave you some examples so that you didn't have to second guess. So travel is one. We're asking you to use the GSA rate. Conference and training, supplies, utilities, video conferencing, if it's an additional account needed for that program, that type of thing. Moving to indirect, these are expenses that already support your organization, but are not tied to the program directly. And they're outside of what you would normally be covered by the indirect rate cost in the next section below. So we gave you a few examples. There aren't many, but a couple. The best example, I think, is the office space. If your company or your organization's already renting space, then and your department is using just a portion of it, that's the indirect. So it's the existing office is space is supporting the program. Phone reimbursement is another example of overall cost for a phone system. Office supplies can be one. So we left that open for you to add items. And then this is the indirect rate cost. And this has three components to it. The first one is if you've already been approved by Department of Health and you have your document done, then you already know you have a 19.4% indirect rate. But if you haven't done that, but you're going to fill out a form that Caroline can provide you, then you can get a 10% de minimis rate. If you're thinking of doing this, you need to do this really quickly because it takes time to process. And then the last one is you may just choose, we're just going to opt out of any indirect rate. So as you click the button of which category, that's what changes the rating across the spreadsheet. And then again, it's got the little tips on it. So you can make sure that you're not going to get confused. And then the inevitable other. So goods and services, we may have left something out and you're not sure where to put it. You may end up using this section for kind of that miscellaneous or other. And just in case we didn't have enough other for you, we put another other because it may not be a goods or services. And I'm really not sure what this one would be, but we felt like we should do it just for safety. Again, what I mentioned before with the instructions, it's a really good example. So you're able to see totals in here, It's just a really powerful way to see how things are rolling up and how you're doing on it. So when you get into your template, you're going to notice some interesting pieces to this. And the one that's kind of can throw people off is that, remember that the yellow is locked. So this is a partially locked Excel and secure. And then so far we haven't had any reports of any glitches, but if you have any questions, please reach out to Laura. She will check your availability and then let me know what it looks like and give me contact information, and I'll go ahead and reach back out to you if you have a budget. And we'll need to do a little session. That other trick would be, an other option would be that if you want to, if you're comfortable with technology and you want to record, here's what I'm trying to do and it's not working, that also works really well. And then we can speed up and do some testing of our own and make sure we don't have a glitch. But so far, so good. So any questions at all?
Hey, Bonnie,
Kind of fast.
there's one question in the chat here well, there's a couple questions, but one is the indirects in column B, where we plug in, say, office or rent. Do we plug in the full cost or just the 10% of the cost representing the indirect?
Sorry, you cut out. 10% of the cost representing what?
10% of the cost representing the indirect.
Interesting. So you want to be careful. This is a hard one. Your indirect rate cost is on top of whatever you've put in here. So you're not worrying about, you're not including the 10% right here, right now. You're just listing what your costs are, because we're basically categorizing these costs are indirect, these costs are direct. And then when we come down in here, this formula takes care of that. Kind of weird, but that's my understanding of it. Next question.
Thanks, Bonnie. The other questions are about the indirect rate. So I'm just typing a question, the answer directly into the Q&A. So I will post that shortly, and then it will also be posted on the FAQ document on our website. But I don't see any other questions.
That's surprising. Let's see. Well, if you have any confusion, come back through, take a look at the instructions area. It's pretty plain Jane in terms of like how it maps over. Hopefully that helps. I'm going to read the indirect, just we've spent a lot of time, right, Caroline, just trying to clarify this area. So indirect costs include costs which are frequently referred to as overhead expenses. For example, rent or utilities, general administrative expenses, for example, officer salaries, accounting department, personnel. And so that's sort of the indirect. In order for us to charge, for applicants to charge indirect, they must have federally approved indirect rate that's on file with DOH or is allowable with the letter. So if you have, just to clarify, if you say you're opting out, then you really aren't going to be able to add indirect in above. So just be aware of that. Because I think that's one area that to me, it's a little nuanced. So just to come back to that real quick. Right here. This indirect rate, as you select this, you'll have the 10 or the 19. But if you are saying we've chosen to opt out of any indirect rate, then you're not listing anything up here either. An indirect, everything will be direct.
Bonnie, there's a couple other questions. One is a comment. So we list 100% of the cost of indirect items in the indirect section, and it automatically calculates 10% of those items totals in the indirect section. Is
Yeah.
that right?
That's correct.
Fantastic.
You get an A+.
Okay, one other question. What would be some indirect costs for remote employees?
Ooh, could be supplies that are consumable, or it wouldn't be office space, and it wouldn't be phones unless you have a universal phone system. So it's not going to be very much. The other example is your agency could have insurance. And so let's say you have 25 people and you pay for insurance. That's insurance not for individuals, but for insuring your project. So kind of the general liability, I guess, is what it would be. But their project insurance is allowable with the gentleman we worked with from DOH. So not a lot that I can think of. Hopefully these help, because that was one of the concerns we had, was let's try and be helpful and identify what category expenses go in, and then also examples. So I'm hoping this helped.
Thanks, Bonnie. So a follow-up question about the indirect. Can you scroll up to the indirect boxes that's on the screen?
Down below, down.
Yeah. Oh, yes, scroll down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mandy, I think if you don't have a letter on file, but you would like to, let's see. I would recommend that you check we have an approved on file, and then there's a section below, Bonnie, if you keep scrolling to the budget narrative, that you have submitted the letter, but it hasn't been approved yet. So just make a note that you're planning to do that. And if any application that is successful, there will be some support from our contract manager who will be working with you on actually setting up your contract and working with our fiscal team throughout the entire project period. We'll work with you on making sure that letter is in place and confirming that.
Well, that's
Mandy,
really good.
Mandy, let me know if that answers that question. Okay, great.
So this is one area I didn't mention, so I apologize, but I'll speak to it right now. So in the instructions, we sort of acknowledge that, and also it was mentioned in the earlier presentation, that Department of Health's requiring 60% of your budget that should serve families. So when you're doing your write-up for this section, please try and share how that is addressed with your plan. How is this overall budget impact, is it at 60%, 70%, families, and kind of talk through the logic there. That will really help, particularly the folks in the committee that are doing the assessment. And it is your only place to share about your budget. So. Any other questions?
coming in. So I think we will stay on the line just for maybe another 5 minutes or so in case any other questions do come in. So feel free to add any to the chat, or I think you have our email addresses. So if something comes up after this meeting tomorrow, feel free to send us an email with questions, but we'll just stay on for a couple more minutes and then end the call if no more questions are on. So for the time being, thank you all so much for calling in. We're so thrilled about the interest in this funding opportunity and would hope to hear from you all again soon, hopefully in an application that we get to review. So thank you all so much for being here.
You had really good attendance tonight.
Should we stop recording?
Yes, I'm gonna stop recording.